Whew, what a joy to be here. Oh, you can say hello. Yeah, no, I'm joking. Actually, confusion reigns sometimes. Sometimes it rains down on us. Sometimes it just rains in our lives. But confusion seems to always be there. We're never quite sure why. But the purpose here today, our talk is, why are we here? What is our purpose? Because when we're confused, we often get lost in that sea of like all these questions. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Where should I go? What direction should I take? Should I take that road? Should I take this road? And so the purpose is really, why are we here? Who are we? Those are the primary questions. And so today we're going to be looking at causes of confusion. We're going to be looking at conditions, the mental causes, and the spiritual truths. All of those things which are the key components of a spiritual mind treatment, which you just heard today from Teresa. So now that we're all on that same path, what happens to us when we don't pay attention or we're not being self-reflective? What happens to you when you're not being self-reflective? Anyone? You get in trouble. Anyone else? What happens? True, we're not doing some inner work. So, well, what else happens is that which we focus on, positive or negative, because the universe always says yes, manifests, right? So, and it can add to our confusion. And so that which we focus on manifests, it expands. And so we focus on and we treat for things like homes, money, jobs, right? We ask for abundance to help pay our bills, to pay our rent. We ask for a home to live in that's safe and comfortable. We ask for relationships where we can have intimacy and love. We ask for all of these things. We feel it. We envision it, we know it's true, and then when it doesn't happen, we become confused. And we look at our lives and we go, but I'm doing all the right things, and I'm saying all the right things, and I believe these things to be true, and yet our lives feel out of balance. And Emma Curtis Hopkins would say that this is our good out of balance, but it's an illusion of good. It's our good out of balance. She would say, because when we look at it and we have this big house, but we have no comfort or joy in it. We have relationships, but no intimacy. We have money, but there's no real profitability or energy behind it. And so this is what Emma Curtis Hopkins says. We get what we ask for because we always get what we ask for, but our good is out of balance. And so we feel confused. And we walk around and we're like, why is this happening to me? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And those are the questions that we live with. And what we want to remember is that we go from one condition to the next without exploring what the real spiritual truth is. We lack self-reflection. I know I lack self-reflection at times. And I don't always look at what the true mental cause is back of that condition. So I may have a big house or a new car, but the insurance is really, really high because I like those, fast sports cars. And so my insurance is often like, so I have a nice new car, but I can't afford my insurance. So I'm still praying for money over here, or I have a nice, beautiful home. The mortgage, my issue is money, obviously, can you tell? And so, but what we want to remember is that the spiritual truth is the clarity that we seek. And because our words and our thoughts have power. And so, and as people in New Thought, whether it's science of mind, religious science, or unity, all of the New Thought faiths, is that we're taught that our words have power, and we're taught that everything is in our control. Is everything in our control? This is sometimes what I struggle with, because when I feel confused, I look at circumstances, and I look at my choices, and I look at the outcomes. And what my perception is really, as Emma Curtis Hopkins says, is what manifests. So I may be saying one thing, but I'm thinking something else. That fear back of what I want hasn't actually dissipated. It hasn't actually gone away. And so we speak the truth, and our thought creates our confusion and our reality. Does that make sense? Okay. So when I get stressed out about something, and I get stressed out about money and relationships and politics, and I think it's okay, because I'm going to think these higher thoughts. I know that peace on earth is the truth. I know that we're all one. I know that abundance is everywhere manifest. I know that my word is law onto this earth because I am a manifestation of the divine. I know all these things, and then I walk outside and I go, oh my God. What about them? What about that race consciousness that we deal with every day? What about their thoughts? What about the people at the bank who are actually loaning the money? What about the thoughts of my friends? What about all of them? Are they also holding these high thoughts for me? Or are they only holding high thoughts for themselves? And if we're all one, how do those competing thoughts happen within me? And this is where my confusion comes from. So then I think, okay, so this is what Ernest Holmes calls race consciousness, essentially. Ernest Holmes, in Creative Mind and Success, says that race consciousness is the collective patterns of belief belonging to the human race. Okay, so all of us are thinking these thoughts simultaneously, and the result of all the human race has thought or believed, and we're immersed in it. And we're receptive to it. And those who are overtly receptive to it are controlled by it. So that's nice. That doesn't really reassure me from Ernest Holmes, but it helps clarify my thought process just a little bit. So everyone is thinking things. We're all out there thinking different things, and yet we're all one. And so what we do know is that all thought seeks expression along the lines of least resistance. And so if we fall into our patterns of behavior, if we fall into the easy part of letting fear control us and guide us on our way, that's the path of least resistance. Those thoughts will manifest. And when we become negative or fearful, we attract those kind of conditions into our life, regardless of what we're overtly saying over here. We have to feel it from in here, as well as recognize it out there. So I have to ask, is our race consciousness fractured? Are we divided? Are you divided individually? Do we know what to do always? Which way to turn? Or are we polarized by our fears sometimes and our thoughts because they're competing? Regardless of which end of the continuums that you stand on, if you're straight or if you're LGBT, if you're Republican or Democrat, if you're Black, Native American, Asian descent, or white Anglo-European, regardless of those, Christian, New Thought, poor, rich, where do you stand on those? All of us are on a continuum somewhere. The list goes on and on. The characteristics that we view as these polar opposites of who we are. Are you homeless, or are you living in a safe environment? Are you male, or are you female? Are you vegan, or are you a meat eater? The truth is that we are a diverse people. And I believe within our diversities, however, we all feel fear. Right. I speak with people all the time. I teach college and I give a lot of talks. I give commencement speeches. And when I talk to people afterwards and I ask them who they are and I'm asking these questions, every person has said that they feel fear. We're fearful that our rights will be taken away, whether those rights are to be safe in our high schools or we don't want our guns taken away. We're fearful that perhaps the law for same-sex marriage might be overturned. We're fearful that we're going to end up in a war. We're fearful of that our house might be taken away. We're fearful of our health. All of these things happen to us all of the time. They're always in the background. And that's what I have found as I travel this country, is how do we deal with fear? Because what I was just saying is that our thoughts travel the path of least resistance. And when we're fearful, those are the thoughts that come to the surface the most easily. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so fear sometimes is who we have become. And what we know is that as Americans, we're a really proud people. We're a really proud, strong people. And we take our individually and we hold that individuality so high. Who we are, where have we come from? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. We go places we never thought possible. And we are the USA. And I believe in that. I absolutely do. But what that does is sometimes cause these places, because if we are that, then who am I? When I'm down here on this level and I hold this ideal so high, is that part of the fracturing of race consciousness? There's an act in Wicked. How many of you have actually seen the movie, the play Wicked? Excellent. It's the best thing ever. And there is an act with Joel Grey and Idina Menzel, and they're discussing their current situation. And Elphaba, who's the Wicked Witch, says, she confronts the wizard and she says, "It's all just smoke and mirrors, and that's the truth." And the wizard responds by saying, "The truth is not a thing, a fact or reason. The truth is just what everyone agrees on. Where I come from, we believe all sorts of things that aren't true, and we call it history. A man is called a traitor or a liberator. A rich man is a thief or a philanthropist. Is one a crusader or a ruthless invader? It's all in which label is able to persist." And he goes on to say, "There are precious few at ease with moral ambiguities, so we act as though they don't exist. The most celebrated are the rehabilitated, and it is to those that we give our gifts." That's a powerful scene for our country right now. It's a powerful vision that we all hold. So how do you label yourself? How do you see who you are? How do you see the world outside of you? Do you see yourself as a liberator or a traitor? Right? Is that polar opposite in your life somewhere? A crusader or a ruthless invader? Those are the things our language does to us. And so who are we? Those are those moral ambiguities that we deal with. And those are the moral ambiguities that can cause confusion. And so the most celebrated are the rehabilitated. And so I am the rehabilitated. And I'm often celebrated. And I have to ask, so who am I? Am I the runaway, the 13-year-old gang member, a high school dropout, a thief, a drug addict, an alcoholic? Am I that? Or am I, those things are all true? Or am I a college professor? Obviously a college graduate, a minister, a student, a partner, a friend, a social justice activist. Those things are all true as well. So who am I? And which polar opposite is what people are going to view me as? Am I as what I have chosen as my new title, Reverend Dr. Kate, or what my students call me is RDK, which is cute. I'm not sure yet if I like that, but they enjoy it, so they call me RDK. RDK, how do I do this? And I'm like, it used to be Dr. Greysen, and I kind of liked that, but it's okay. Or am I my labels? Am I clean and sober, or am I an addict alcoholic? Am I a student or a professor? Am I Barbara Jan Blashill, my birth name, or am I Katherine R.B. Greysen, a name I chose right here in Las Cruces 25 years ago? What we do know is that when that person is in conflict or in states of confusion, we often begin to identify ourselves through that confusion. That becomes our identity. And that becomes our identity through the role of within that conflict. In other words, we become our story. And if that story were to change without the conflict, then we have to ask again, who am I? I've had to ask myself that question every time my life changes. When I got clean and sober, I'm like, who am I? Who am I going to be? What is going to happen to me? When I graduated from college, who am I? What am I going to be? What's going to happen to me? When I became a minister, when I came here to do my first retreat up at the domes, I had to ask that again. If this is successful, if it fails, who am I? Who am I going to be? What am I going to do? Because we always have those questions in our mind, in the back of our head, kind of propelling us forward. So the perception here, the issue is the perception with our identity. This is what I've been talking about. Who are we? Who am I? And we face who we are every day through several mirrors. It comes back to us through books, movies, films. Our perception of who we are is framed from the outside. And unfortunately, it's not a mistake that The Walking Dead is one of the most popular TV shows at this time. That's not a mistake. Or that the Avengers, that whole series, is at this point in our culture is one of the most popular superhero movies. Those aren't mistakes. For some reason, this is the kind of faith that we've grown to in our country. And you think about it, it's either we're being chased by zombies or we're going to get saved by superheroes. Just a little bit sad, but we all like those movies at some element. So the truth is that we're always at odds. We always have these things going on, but yet we're always at point, and we're always doing this. We're always trying to balance on the point. The question is, as the Native American folklore would have it, is which wolf do we feed? Where do we put our focus, right? You all know that story. Which part of you becomes stronger by the focus that you give it? And the focus is our frame of reference, and it's how we see the world. And we act in the world through our patterns and our behaviors, which come from specifically two different places. Either they're enculturated, enculturated from birth, or they're acculturated, which is ACC, acculturated from how we live our lives and our experiences that we have with other cultures and other people. And then there's 4 windows that we walk through this on. And the first one is our self-concept. And our self-concept comes to us through who we are, which is formed by what others think of us. As much as we don't want to think that we want to say, I don't care what they think about me. I will wear this, or I'm going to do that. I don't care. We do care. We may as well just admit it. We do care. And because we form those judgments of other people. And it's a circular thing. We can't get out of our car at a department store without people looking at us and going, those are interesting slacks. Oh, look, that's a nice hair color. Are those new glasses? We always are in observation of others, and others are always in observation of us. So if you feel a little paranoid, it's okay. It absolutely is the truth. And it goes to our self-concept and our self-evaluation, whether it's good or bad. Our self-awareness, how well do you know who you are? Why do you like the color that you like? Do you like blue? Do you like green? Do you like lavender? Why did you choose the way to dress today? Do you know that? Why do you prefer that music genre or movie genre? Or how aware of yourself are you when you make your choices? That's your self-awareness. Do you understand why you do what you do when you do it? And your self-esteem, how valuable are you? How do you talk about yourself? Because how we talk about ourselves teaches others how to treat us. If we say, oh, don't worry about it, I'm just stupid, eventually people will start treating you like you don't know or that you're not aware. Or if you continually say, oh, you know what, I'm just forgetful, people will start treating you as though you're forgetful. If you say, oh, I'm clumsy, I shouldn't do that, people will start treating you like you're clumsy. And next thing you know, they'll be taking something out of your hand as you're trying to do something, and they'll say, oh, I'll do that for you. Because we teach people how to treat us, and that's how valuable we think we are. And these three things, self-concept, self-awareness, and self-esteem, come together to create your sense of self-efficacy. And when one of those three things is out of balance, so is your self-efficacy, which is how much confidence or belief do you have in yourself that you can change your immediate environment. And when we feel confused, our self-efficacy goes down because of these other three things. When I feel confused, I don't value myself very well. I don't treat myself very well. I don't act as though I know who I am, and so people don't treat me that way. So this low sense of self-efficacy is often at the root of our confusion. And I know this sounds fragmented, and I've thrown a lot at you in just a short period of time, but the journey of becoming a whole person is absolutely within our reach. These four things can and do absolutely balance themselves out. And you start with your frame of reference. Many years ago, I was told that we reflect the 5 people who are closest to us, the 5 people that we interact with the most. We talk like them. We kind of start dressing like them. We might change our hair color slightly, right? You look at people who spend many long times with their dogs. Do you ever see a resemblance between owners and their pets? It's that kind of thing. Groups of kids running around, we all dress the same. Groups of adults who run around all dress the same as well. I hope at some point you start noticing that you're going to go, look at those people. They're all wearing the same cowboy shirt at the fair, and that's scary. But that's what we do. And so if your friends live in drama, you live in drama. If your friends are happy, you're happier. If your friends are healthy, physically healthy, you're physically healthier. If your friends have abundance in their life, you have more abundance in your life. So look at who you spend your time with, because this is where our good becomes out of balance. This is where our self-awareness, our self-concept, and our self-esteem come from. Also our self-efficacy. So Mark Nepo, in his book, 7,000 Ways to Listen, this book right here, if you've not read it, he should give me money. He should, because I advertise this book. This book is like my Bible now, and some people read it and they're like, it's a little too touchy-feely for them. But this book saved my life a few years ago. And Mark Nepo says this on page 44, understanding where and how we are inwardly divided often leads to the center of our tensions. Facing our inner divisions is the first step to knowing where we need to rejoin ourselves. You cannot set bone until you know where it is broken. You cannot set upon the journey of individuation, of becoming a whole person, until you know where and how you are divided. Had I just stopped and maintained my priorities to myself, in my own days of imbalance, and when my confusion is king in my world, or queen as the case may be, had I not lied to myself about the self-sacrifices that I make, because part of my thing is that I can be quite a martyr. It's not like I'm a victim, but I tell you, when I get going, I really can be a martyr. I'm too busy. I have too much to do. People are asking a lot of me, and I'm just so important that I just, I can't really even see straight. And so the truth is, if I hadn't lied to myself in those moments, I probably wouldn't have backtracked and felt so much confusion in my life. What happens is that I forget to focus on the good, and I start looking at those circumstances in my life. And Emma Curtis Hopkins, again, my good is my God. What is good all around me is what I have created, is what is manifested, and that is my God. Not that I worship those things, but that good is what I bring to me. And when I focus on those things, all else seems to fade away. Misfortune, illness, friends that don't serve me, those people and things kind of float out of my life unexpectedly. I'll turn around and they're just gone, and I feel healthy, I feel better, I feel more abundant, and I feel more alive because I'm focusing on my good. And I ask again, who are we as a group, as a nation? And then ask yourself, who are you? Where do you stand? What do you believe? Do you invite those polar opposites, apparent polar opposites, into your house, into your home? Are you bound by your past, even as recent as something you may have said yesterday? Or can you change your mind and step forward into a new future? Have you stood in the fire and faced those hidden spaces? Are you a spiritual warrior? Do you stand in the unknown and face your fears and then move forward? Or do you let those fears control you and dictate the direction that you lead, which is where that confusion reigns? What we tell ourselves and how we talk about ourselves is key to how we move in the world. That's what I've been talking about this last 25 minutes. Sorry, Bonnie, I'm going over. And and this is how we move in the world, and this is what the spiritual truth is, and how we know our spiritual truth. Holmes says on the original Science of Mind on page 184, he says, one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. When we meditate, one alone in consciousness with the universe constitutes a complete majority, and that is you. That's each and every one of you. So this is what I know now. I know that living in confusion is self-deception. And what I know about self-deception, it leads to loneliness of my soul. What I know about that is that gratitude is the path to wholeness, and it leads to forgiveness of my heart. I also know that forgiveness of my heart leads to love, and as Reverend Patrick always says, all there is is love, and the rest we made up. And so it is. Thank you.